A century ago, US laws broke the grip of monopolies like Rockefeller's oil and Carnegie's steel, promising shoppers real choice and fair prices. But what if, despite all those safeguards, the price tag is now a lie, personalized against you in real time by invisible code? This is the real story behind so-called dynamic pricing. It starts much earlier and more dangerously than anyone suspects. Steel, oil and railroads once shaped the backbone of American industry, and the men behind them shaped the prices everyone paid. Andrew Carnegie's steel mills, John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil and Cornelius Vanderbilt's rail lines each operated with almost no competition. When a single company controlled an entire market, there was no reason to lower prices, and no fear of a rival undercutting the cost of a train ticket or a barrel of oil. For ordinary people, this meant paying whatever the monopolist demanded, with no other choice. By the late 1800s, public anger over these so-called robber barons reached a boiling point. Congress responded in 1890 with the Sherman Antitrust Act. This law made it illegal for companies to fix prices or conspire to limit competition. Even a handshake deal on a golf course could bring federal charges. The Sherman Act gave prosecutors the power to break up trusts and target secret price fixing, but it was only the beginning. In 1914, lawmakers added the Clayton Act, which banned price discrimination and created the Federal Trade Commission. The Federal Trade Commission was tasked with protecting consumers from unfair business practices and keeping markets open. These laws were not just about punishing bad actors, they were designed to force companies to compete, driving prices down and giving shoppers real options. In theory, this meant a race to the bottom where stores would fight for customers by offering lower and lower prices. The foundation was set: competition, not collusion, would decide what Americans paid at the register. Airlines were the first to abandon fixed prices in favour of something far more flexible. In the late 1970s, as deregulation opened the skies to competition, carriers turned to yield management, a system that changed ticket prices dozens of times a day. A seat on the same flight could cost $99 at noon and $399 by dinner, all depending on when and how many people wanted to fly. The goal was simple: fill as many seats as possible at the highest price each traveller would tolerate. Not long after, the concept spread beyond airports. Ride-hailing companies like Uber built their entire business around surge pricing. When demand spiked during rush hour, a rainstorm, or after a big concert, fares could double or triple in minutes. The price you paid depended not just on where you were going, but on how many others wanted a ride at that exact moment. What made these systems different from old-fashioned price gouging was the use of algorithms. Instead of managers setting prices by hand, computers tracked hundreds of variables, time, location, even local events, to adjust costs automatically. At first, these changes were based on broad trends, not individual shoppers, but as smartphones became universal, the amount of data available exploded. Every tap, search and GPS ping became another clue for pricing software. Dynamic pricing promised efficiency for businesses and sometimes better deals for consumers. But with each new advance, the line between fair competition and hidden manipulation grew harder to see. A mother shopping for groceries online clicks to check out and sees her total jump by several dollars without warning and without explanation. On Instacart, the same brand of milk or box of crackers can cost one shopper 23% more than it does for her neighbour, even though both are buying from the same store at the same time. Consumer Reports sent hundreds of testers to order identical groceries and found wild swings in what each person paid. Sometimes the difference was pennies. Sometimes it was more than $2 on a single item. Over a year, that adds up to hundreds of dollars lost from a family's budget, all because an algorithm decided one shopper could afford more. The pattern is not limited to groceries. At Staples, Mac users shopping online discovered they were being charged up to 15% more for the same office supplies, simply because the website assumed they had deeper pockets. Internal emails later confirmed the company's pricing tests targeted people based on their device. Parents desperate for baby formula reported a similar sting. Choosing the fastest delivery option flagged them as not price sensitive, triggering an 18% price hike on an already expensive order. The only thing these shoppers had in common was being profiled by software that watched, calculated, and quietly changed the price tags before they ever reached the register. Behind the scenes, many retailers rely on the same third-party vendors to set their prices. These companies, names like Revionics, Bloomreach, and Pros, act as central hubs, gathering data from dozens or even hundreds of stores at once. Each retailer feeds its own sales numbers and competitor prices into the vendor's cloud system. The software then scrapes public prices from rival websites, compiles everything, and runs it through algorithms designed to find the optimal price for every product on every shelf. The result is a silent network where competitors, sometimes even bitter rivals, end up following the same pricing signals. No phone calls, meetings, or secret emails are needed. The hub's recommendations flow back out to each store, nudging prices into near lockstep. Shared default settings and real-time API feeds mean a price change at one retailer can ripple instantly across the entire market. This architecture allows for coordinated pricing without anyone breaking the law in the traditional sense. The system's design blurs the line between competition and collusion, leaving shoppers facing a marketplace where the illusion of choice masks a deeper, algorithmic alignment. RealPage, a software company few renters had ever heard of, became the centerpiece of a federal showdown over algorithmic collusion. Landlords across the country plugged their confidential lease data and competitor prices into RealPage's system. The software processed this sensitive information and spit out rent recommendations, numbers that in just 11 months pushed average rents up more than 25% in cities like Atlanta and Phoenix. Some tenants opened renewal letters to find their monthly payments had jumped by hundreds of dollars, far above the local market or what vacancy rates would justify. Complaints flooded housing advocates and state attorneys general. The Department of Justice stepped in, arguing that RealPage's algorithm had replaced handshake deals with code, creating a new era of illegal price coordination. The proposed settlement, announced in late 2025, forced RealPage to limit its data use to information at least a year old and banned granular pricing recommendations. A court-appointed monitor now oversees compliance, but for many renters, the damage was done. The case became the government's first direct strike at algorithm-driven price fixing, raising the stakes for every industry using similar tools. Electronic shelf labels, small digital screens clipped to store shelves, are quietly replacing paper price tags in thousands of supermarkets and big box stores. With a few taps on a manager's tablet, prices can rise or fall across an entire store in seconds. By 2026, 15% of US grocers had piloted these systems, with most integrating artificial intelligence for rapid adjustments. At Best Buy and Target, these labels update in real time, responding to demand, inventory, or even the weather outside. But the hardware is only part of the story. Kroger's partnership with Cooler Screens brings facial detection to the freezer aisle, scanning for age and gender to tailor ads as shoppers approach. Patent filings describe shelf tags that could someday change prices based on who is standing nearby, drawing on phone signals or biometric cues. The technology exists for every shopper to see a different price, each one calculated to come just under their personal breaking point. Shopping around for the best deal may soon become an empty ritual. When every store uses the same algorithm, the difference between retailers fades away, and the promise of competition all but disappears. Some economists defend this new world, saying that algorithmic pricing simply matches supply and demand more efficiently. Others warn that fairness is lost when prices are tailored in secret, leaving consumers powerless. Lawmakers have floated new rules, requiring stores to label algorithm-driven prices, or even banning the sharing of real-time pricing data between competitors. But these proposals face steep challenges. Algorithms operate in black boxes, making enforcement difficult and transparency rare. Watchdog groups press for tougher oversight, but the problem remains largely hidden from public view. The battle over dynamic pricing is now a fight over who controls the market and whether shoppers have any real choice left at all. Today, algorithms set prices in milliseconds, often knowing more about you than you know about them. As regulators scramble to catch up, the line between competition and collusion blurs. The price tag no longer tells you what something's worth, only what you are worth to someone else. Let's talk about what this means.